because I've never used them on the computer before. I want to make sure we can hear before we get started tonight. Awesome. My apologies for the loud music. I'm actually in a room and I still hear it, but I'm still at the shop, and sometimes when everyone's working late, they like to have a little music to get going. So that's where I am. And hopefully I'll be able to show you all some cool stuff later on. If not, then I'll be showing it to you a little bit later on. We'll be making some cubes and some things of that nature. All right, so since you all can hear me, we're going to go ahead and get started. And Customer Happiness, please let me know if this is pushing over to YouTube right now. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here. Y'all, listen, we're going to go ahead and get it in how we can right now. I'm in the Scarface room right now of the shop. All right, and let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Let me know if you all can see my screen here. All right, all right. Okay, so for tonight's file, it's a little bit different, but it's still going to be along the lines of how we do our smart templates. I want to do a demonstration and a walkthrough first so I can show you all how we're going to flip it now. Don't be afraid if this is your very first time with Photoshop. All you have to do is have Photoshop downloaded, and I'm going to walk you through the rest of the way, okay? There's no fear. I'm going to help you literally through every single step. Now, all that I need for you all to do is to make sure that we stay together, even my OGs, because my OGs, I may actually need your help with making sure that everyone is having a good flow. And if anyone gets stuck, I know you all will honor the tribe and help anyone along the way, because our motto is no creative left behind. And let's go ahead and let those couple of folks in the waiting room in. Now, if you are on the YouTube side, I cannot see your comments. I may have a chance to check it out a little bit later on, but I can only see the chat inside of the Zoom room. So let me check and just make sure you all at least have sound. So I know that was an issue last time. All right, hold on just a moment. I'll make sure I'm clicking on the right link. There we go. And I'm just checking on YouTube. Can you all hear? I want to make sure y'all can hear this time. Y'all can see and y'all can hear. Awesome, awesome. Make sure even in the preview area, you all make sure that you like and subscribe and all those great things so that it lets me know that this type of content is helpful to you all, and I'll continue to provide this type of content. All right, so I want to go ahead and get into the template for tonight, and I want to show you that we're going to transform this entire thing with just a few files. As a matter of fact, the files that I'm going to give you are right here. You don't have them just yet because I'm going to have everybody download them together. All right, that way we make sure everybody makes it through. These are the images that we're going to flip here. And we just made some AI images yesterday. So I want you all to have some fun with that, because we're going to take this design and we're going to flip it to the enchanted teal and purple theme here with just a few images. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Now, on Monday, we did Canva, and I promised you all on Wednesday, we do Photoshop. And I'm going to show you some of the features that we can do inside of Photoshop that we can't do inside of Canva that can really step your game up as far as graphic design. So my goal is to make these files simple, easy to switch out. Eventually, you'll be able to switch these things out in about 5 minutes. I usually say that happens whenever you flip the template at least 3 times. It just familiarizes yourself with what the contents of the template is and gives you some idea of how you can easily change those things out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up the t-shirt version of this design just to show you that there are some variations here. Before I change anything out, I'm just going to show you that there are a few variations here. So I'm going to close down some of my little folders here. All right. Uh, all right, all right. So the main thing that makes this a different type of design is the contour or the layer mask. Now, what I want to talk to you about here, especially in Canva, we have a specific layer mask or frame that was created, but I want to show you that I can change the shape of this frame based on what is in this contour style folder. So if we want just a straight up rectangle here, we've got a straight up rectangle. If I want to see more, and I'm going to turn off this fancy frame here for a second. If I want more of this sublimation style frame, and then I'm going to turn on the black background here so we can actually see what this looks like. So this is something Canva cannot do. Right now, Canva can only do vector-based frames. This is more of a watercolor style. So as you can see, there's some parts of the frame that are transparent. That's going to be best for sublimation. All right. And then this is going to be something that you can do effortlessly in Photoshop, but you cannot do it all on the Canva side. So I'm just explaining some of the differences there. And then when I turn on this layer, this is what I like to call a DTF kind of a frame or layer mask. This one is a vector style. This is basically like the one that you would see in the class that we did on Monday in the Canva class. So this, you see how it has harder edges here? You don't see any transparency in these areas. You may have a little bit of little artifacts here that most DTF printers can pick those up, but I call that the DTF frame. And then here we have I'm just calling this one our fancy frame. I'm sure it has another term for it. I think it's filigree or something like that, but I don't know if I say it right. So I didn't want to say that live and be wrong, but y'all know I'll go look it up for y'all if I need to. But basically, it's got this nice little fancy kind of curved frame here. And I want you all to see how we can use this, whether it be t-shirt graphics, whether it be a menu or a welcome sign. So we're going to flip those different elements. Right now, in order to show it as those different things, I'm just going to come up here to my text layer. And if you don't know what layer it is, because Photoshop can seem a little intimidating with all these different layers and all these different buttons, but I promise you we're going to get through it together and you are actually going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to right click here on the word welcome, and I see welcome here. And when I drop down to here, it automatically takes me to this level. Now I want you to see that there's welcome text, there's the menu text, okay? And if I turn on the menu text, then I'm gonna turn off the logo text, just so you all can see that you can turn this into a menu as well. Same kind of shape, same thing going on there. And then I'm gonna show you what it looks like flipped to a t-shirt design. So for the t-shirt design, we probably will create the logo text there. We'll turn off the menu text. And I have this little spotlight here. Now this spotlight is here because it makes the back on something, especially fine text. Let me show you the difference here. If I turn on my menu and I turn off the logo here, it's very difficult to read the text here. So what I I have to do is I have to turn on this white spotlight here. And the white spotlight allows me to visibly see that text a lot better. It adds more contrast, and the best contrast that you're going to get is black against white. So that's why I chose the black text and I chose the white spotlight here. However, you can change the color of the spotlight to whatever you like. I'm gonna choose the color picker tool just to try to show you. Oh, let's choose one of our swatches over here to the side. That you can choose another color, and as long as it has contrast, that will work, okay? Now, in my situation, I like to keep things simple because when I flip these templates, now I'm gonna do Control Z and go back a second. When I flip these templates, my whole purpose is to be able to flip it in 5 minutes. So that white spotlight is pretty much gonna work for maybe 90% of my applications. Even if I am not doing white in a design, it just whitens it up in that area a little bit. It makes it look a little more transparent for the background so that my text pops out. All right, so let's go ahead and show you with that white spotlight turned off. Okay, it makes a cool background here. And then I'm going to build up to say if I want to do my my t-shirt design here, typically we'll have some kind of image here. And this one might be a party. This is kind of a Funko Pop type of character. We created this one in AI 50, I believe. So we're on AI class 51. So it was last week's class. We created these really cool characters. We personalized their clothing, and some of them we and did face swap to put the features of the intended person on that character. All right, so that was fun. So now we're going to show you how this might look is a bit up high. So I probably, if I'm doing this as a t-shirt design, I'm just going to bring the text down a little bit lower here. If you hold down shift, it will only let it go up and down, so it will stay centered. All right, and that could be a t-shirt design there, but I could also go to the back here and I can turn on the sublimation frame there. And then that way I can get my nice grunge mask, right? And then I have this little gold frame that I kept on here for you all. You can turn that off or on. So you can turn off that little gold mirror part. And I think it actually adds a little cool flair to the grunge mask. So I'm going to keep that on. All right. So that was me just showing you that there are basically 3 phases to this template. And we're going to start off in the t-shirt phase. So I'm just going to save this as our start. Uh-oh, let's save them right now. And now this will allow me to do a save as. So I'm going to save this one as we have a purple and teal. So in class, we're all going to flip it to purple and teal. I'm going to give you everything you need to do this. You're going to have so much fun because you're not going to be stressed out thinking you can't make it through. I'm going to help you make it through. And then your homework for tonight, if it is your very first time doing a Photoshop class with me, your homework is to flip it one time, preferably using the AI artwork that we made up yesterday. You can use anybody's AI artwork. You do not have to use your AI artwork. Okay, and I'll show you some of that in just a little bit. But if you are an OG, y'all know who you are, triple OGs, I want you to flip it 3 times because this should be extremely simple for you to flip. All right. But of course, just like always, I still have some advanced techniques under my sleeve to show you all how to do a professional level version of these graphics, especially if you're going up on that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. First thing we're going to do is change out. All right, so all I'm going to do is just double click right here on photo 1. All right, and I'm going to leave the existing image on there while I drop in the new image. And that's because really I want to ensure that I'm getting my images in about the same placement. And y'all give me a second. I got Zoom is all over my Zoom. Get out of here. Okay, well, don't get out of here, but just move your junk off my screen. All right. So instead of a photo, I know typically we're doing photo shirts and things of that nature. I want to focus on using one of our images that we created in AI as our focal here. So I'm going to have the deer as the focal. And then I'm going to turn off the character. And once I have that done, you can do Control S to save. You can do File Save, or you can do Command S to save as well. When I close out, it won't even ask me to save because I saved it. All right, so my photo one is in place and it has replaced the character with the deer now. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring in my accent one. So I've kind of pre-thought this design out a little bit for you. So I'm going to delete because I don't want the stuff to be there for you. I want you to kind of go through the motions with me, okay? Even though I've already done the work to demonstrate it for you, but I do want you to go through it yourself as well. So I'm going to drag and drop from my folder. I'll show you one method is drag and drop. And then the other method is I'm going to undo that step, okay? The other method is to go File, Place Embedded, and then you're gonna look in your folder that I'm giving you for tonight. Oh, yes, let me give you a reminder too. If you've never installed a font before, we're going to do that live in class tonight too, because it really irks me if you don't have a font and then you use like a default Times New Roman or something. It really kills the design. Typography is a lot of what makes a design look interesting. That is the art of text. So I want to make sure that you all install the font before we get started tonight. So I will show you that as well. All right, but what I'm focused on right now is grabbing these AI images. We go and put it on large icons. So I showed you the way you can drag and drop it from a folder onto the artboard, but you can also select it as place embedded. This way you can only bring one image in at a time. That's why I like the drag and drop method because I can usually bring multiple images in if I want to. But this looks good here. I'm going to go ahead and close out, hit yes to save. All right, and if you noticed, the snowflake that I had over the O here just happened to change into a butterfly. And now that is also accented here at the bottom, and I can turn these images on and off. But the idea here is, especially when you're working in doing designs really quickly, you want to have some type of system to it. And with Canva, I have to change all of these elements each time. I can't get a lot of these effects that I have here. I definitely won't be able to get this whole 3D text looking image here. I won't be able to get that this same way with the same ease as if I would in Photoshop. So that's why it was really important for me to bring Canva in on this challenge, because I want to show you, you can absolutely design in Canva, but you would have a lot of benefits designing in Photoshop if you just give me a chance to show you that. All right, so we changed out our accent there. Now what I'm going to do is pick out some colors here, y'all. So in order to pick out the colors, I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool here, and I'm going to focus on the butterfly here. So I'll zoom in. I'll do Control plus to zoom in a little bit. And you'll get to see these details in here. And I want to choose a purple color and a teal color. So when I choose my teal, I'm moving around, and as you can see, it's showing me a preview of the teal that I'm selecting as I'm going and selecting. If I like that one there, I'm going to stop and let go. And now I'll select my purple. There it is, and I'll go ahead and let that go. And as you can see, those two swatches are up here in the top right corner of my swatches here. Well, it's in the top left corner of the top right corner of my screen. Excuse me, y'all. All right, so now I'm going to change my smart colors here. And smart colors is probably, I don't know if Photoshop has started calling anything smart colors yet, but this is something I invented a couple years ago because I love smart objects, but I hated that Photoshop did not have a global coloring option like Illustrator does. So I came up with this concept to store colors inside of smart objects for you all. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and change color number 2. We're going to make that one a teal color. So we're going to right click, duplicate the layer, hit OK, and just go ahead and change that to the teal color that we already created. And all I did was tap on it over on the right hand side. I did not even have to double click on the color here to do that. Now I can hit exit and yes to save. It's always best to save first before you exit, but sometimes I get a little lazy and I hit the X. Most times, let me just be honest. As a matter of fact, I've just started doing save before I close. And it was a hard lesson to learn because I did a lot of work. I was talking, running my mouth, and when I closed out of this tab, I did not hit yes to save, and none of my changes were saved. Okay. So I'm going to right click here, duplicate layer, go ahead and duplicate that color layer. And this is just so that I can keep some of my colorways. Let's say I'm doing this flip for school number 1, school number 2, school number 3. This allows me to keep my colorways intact so that I can continually go through those designs if I need to go back to them. All right, so color number 1 here, I'm going to make that one purple. All right, and I turned off the eyeball of the previous color, so we can go ahead and save that and update it. All right, so now I'm going to zoom out a little bit just because I want to see how did this purple and this teal do. It looks great, and already this design looks super cool, right? It transitioned just that fast. But I also want to be able to change out this secondary background image here. So I have a little collage going on here. You'll see in just a moment. I have a pattern. Remember, we created a pattern in our AI class yesterday. And then I also have an image. So we created that image as well. So what I want to do, I want to right click here and I'm just going to find that background image. It's under BG1. Okay, so that's my background one. As long as I have this layer selected, anything that I place embedded or anything that I drag over will land on top of this layer. So what I'm going to do is I'll do the file place embedded just so you all can see the standard process. I'm going to grab the background that we created in AI and place it. Okay. And I want you to see something here. Before, when I faded off this image, I'm going to pull it down on purpose because y'all know if we need to, we can fade this off some more with the brush tool because we could just fade it off right to this layer. Now, you cannot do that in Canva. I'll do a collage in a frame. There's a way to do it, but it is so frustrating. It is not worth it to me. Basically, you have to make 3 or 4 different frames, and then you have to drop the faded off image. You have to go to Photoshop or Photopea, fade off the image, and then layer them on top of one another. And if you're going to do all that, you might as well just use Photoshop. Okay, just be honest. All right, so I already have this little area boxed off and faded off. So what I can do here is I can push it up until it naturally fades off because I already have that on there. But if I needed to, I can grab my paintbrush here. So I'm going to pull it back down so you can see that hard line. So we have a hard line there, but maybe I specifically to be in that. Grab my paintbrush and I'm going to hit my default button. So my default color is usually going to put white in the foreground, black in the background. Then I'm gonna hit my switcheroo button, white reveals. So you can just think about if you wear a skin tight dress, a white dress is gonna reveal every little nook and cranny, and a black dress might actually conceal a couple of those little curves, right? So I just want us to remember that white reveals, black conceals when it comes to a layer mask. And I'm painting on the layer mask. I am not painting on the actual graphic. And in fact, if I try to paint on the graphic right now, you're going to see an error pop up that says this smart object must be rasterized before proceeding. Edit contents will no longer be available. Rasterize a smart object. I'm going to hit cancel when I see this. This means you try to paint on the image. That's called a destructive technique. We don't like to use destructive techniques because I want to be able to come back to this image and move it around, change it. I don't want to directly delete or color on top of this image. I'm going to go to the layer mask instead, and then I'm going to color black where I want to conceal. You see how that faded off just there? And then that way I could keep my graphic exactly where it is. And if I want to bring it back, I will more fade it down. And then I'm going to remove this color that I have here. So right now I have the teal recoloring this background. I'm going to turn it off because it turns out we already created the exact colors we wanted in AI. So this purple and this teal works out perfect because I already prompted it that way. Let's say, for instance, you wanted to make this background orange, then you could color it with the color right here. Just make the color orange and it would recolor this background. All right, so I'm turning that off now. This looks good to me. And then the next thing that I want to do is change my pattern. Okay, so right now I have this pattern. This is an AI generated pattern. This pattern was created, I believe, in AI 50 or maybe possibly 48. I think it was created in 48. I believe so. So what happens with this is that it's a seamless pattern. That means that no matter how many times you repeat it to the left, to the right, up or down, it is going to be repeatable and you won't see the lines. Well, we created some patterns in AI yesterday, and I just want to show you what that looks like. Remember, we created some patterns. So this is a butterfly watercolor pattern that fits our theme here. What we're going to do for the pattern, and don't worry, y'all, we're going to do this together. I promise you, you're going to not know how easy it was to create your own patterns. So we're going to double click here and we're going to open up the image. Now it has to be an image. It can't just be any old square image. It has to be an image that is seamless. And one way that you can tell is if you look at the flower over here to the right, it looks like it is a continuation of the flower to the left. If I look at the flower to the bottom, it looks like it is a continuation of the flower up top. All right, and that's what makes it seamless. I have several classes where I show you all how to create your own patterns, including making your own monogram, Louis Vuitton-ish type of font, and our Louis Vuitton-ish type of pattern. You can make your own sports logo patterns. Those go really well for socks and accessories. Maybe even if you're just decorating the sleeve of a garment versus the entire shirt, you might want to use some of those pattern elements. So I'm going to show you how to turn this into a pattern. We're going to go up to Edit. We'll go to Define Pattern. And as you can see, it's going to allow you to create a name here. We're just going to say, okay. That's it. I'm going to close out of this. Now, if you want to test your pattern here, you can, but we're going to test it out right here in the working environment because I've already tested it and it does work. It looks really good, as a matter of fact. Now, I want to duplicate this pattern because I'm going to keep this pattern here. I think this pattern is cute. I think it even fits with this theme, but I want to check it out to see if I like it better with the butterfly pattern. So I'm going to hold down Alt on my keyboard. It'll be Option if you're on a Mac. And I'm going to drag right on top of the old pattern. I just duplicated it and made a new pattern. Now, the way you can tell if you're doing it right, when I hold down Alt or Option, you see how it turns into a black and white double arrow? That means it's duplicating. All right, so I'm going to take my top duplicate. I'm going to turn off the eyeball at the bottom duplicate. The top duplicate, I'm going to double click on it. This is going to allow me to change the existing pattern. And I'm going to change that pattern to my butterfly pattern we just created. Now, if you take a look at this butterfly pattern looks pretty huge. I don't want it to be that big. So I'm going to type in a scale of 130, which is a little bit bigger than 100. And then I'll type in 100, see what 100 looks like. 100 actually looks really good. I could even go lower than 100. I could do 50. And you see how the pattern gets even smaller, but I can't tell that they're tiles or they're lines in between anything. It looks continuous, and that's the whole point of a seamless pattern. So I think I'm going to go with the 100% there. Hit OK. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off my coloring here, just so I can show you the natural color of the image there. And the reason why it's so washed out is because the opacity right now is at 27. And for this particular image, I want to crank up the opacity a little bit. I want to see more of that. So I can crank it all the way up to 100. It looks gorgeous just like that. Or I can bring it down a little bit and make it look a little more faint. For this one, let's go ahead and crank it all the way up because the other one we had it the opacity down. So we'll see a little contrast there. And for this so far, this looks like an awesome shirt design, a poster design. This might even be a 8 foot tall standee when you're done with it. You may want this to be something that people take pictures in front of. All right. So the last thing I want to do here is well, let's do this. Let's move this little butterfly here, this accent one. So I have a version of the butterfly in front of the text and inside of the text. And if you just move one of them, as long as you have one selected, I can move the butterfly and see how it's all staying together. And that little accent image there is replacing the O in season. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and save right now for my purple. And okay. So for happy birthday, of course, it still says 'tis the season, but I just labeled that folder so that I can reword this here. All right. So at first, where it says tis, I'm going to double click on the T, and this is where the font needs to be installed. Otherwise, when you change this, it's going to look a lot worse. But I'm going to type happy, Happy. And then for season, you double click on season and type birthday is significant. And this is my trick to kind of squishing it in a little bit. I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to squish up. It didn't squish, it moved. So I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to grab just that corner and I'm going to squish it over just a little bit. All right. And then I'm going to turn off the word the because I don't need it. And then birthday, I may have to move a little bit lower just so it's not overlapping the happy so much. I might like a little bit of overlapping, but too much makes it illegible. And then I can take my accent here. Maybe I want to cover up the A in birthday, or maybe I want to cover up the A in happy. But either way, it moves where you want it to go. I think I'm gonna do the happy. Now let's do birthday. Here we go. See, I'm already indecisive with design. So I know exactly what you all go through when it comes to doing a little too much. Okay, so now I have a totally different design, a happy birthday design with this enchanted forest theme. Now I want to be able to save this as is. So I'm going to turn off this black background here. So now I do see the checkerboard. That means it's transparent back here. So I'm going to save this a few different ways. First, I'm going to right click up here on 291, right click, and I'm going to quick export as PNG. And this one, I'm calling that my shirt design because I like the little grungy layers here. So I could use this design very, very easily for a shirt. So I'm going to save that as a shirt teal, and I'm just going to put a 2 at the end of this because I've already saved this one time, but this will be my second variation. And it's actually going to look different because I didn't do as a transparent background. I did I did do a more of a transparent background. This time I did the solid colors. All right, so speaking of the background, now I'm gonna go to the back and I'm gonna turn off that sublimation type of frame and I'm gonna turn on just this rectangle. Okay, so let's say you just wanna do a nice board and you want that board to kind of stand up by itself. We call those standees or stand-up boards. Okay, so I'm gonna take this now, go back to the top up here, right click, quick export as PNG. This is my way to kind of quick save some different variations here. And this one is going to be the rectangle teal. And of course, I'm going to put my -2 at the end because this is the second variation. All right, and from here, now I'm going to turn on my welcome sign. You can come in. I'm recording though, or I'm live. Okay. So for this one, what I did was I created some alternate text here. And let me show you what I did. You should have this one in the file, but I want to put the name of the event. So I have Amiri's Enchanted Wonderland, right? So maybe I want that on my signage, my welcome sign. And again, I'm going to take my accent 1 and I'm going to put it over the O here. And see how it's following it together? And I can resize it too by just pulling on, and I don't have my aspect ratio locked. So you see that little link, that lock in the middle? I need to have that locked so that when I pull it down, it's not distorting my image. All right, so that looks good there. Now I can save a version of this as Amir's Enchanted Wonderland because the last one said happy birthday. So maybe I want one that says happy birthday, one that says Amir's Enchanted Wonderland. So I can quick export that as well. And maybe that's my second variation. All right. So now I want to get into making my welcome sign, and I want my welcome sign to stand out. So I'm going to give it not the rectangle frame. I'm going to give it this beautiful cutout frame here. And this follows the gold foiling exactly too. So you could leave that on or you could turn the gold off, whatever floats your boat or finds your lost remote. Y'all know it. All right, so now this one, I want to say welcome to. So we can go back to the additional text that I gave you all. And I'm going to turn on my welcome text. So this one says, welcome to the, but welcome. And I could duplicate this layer here, but I already have just the word to on here because that'll probably be the only, if you're saying welcome, it's either going to be welcome to the or welcome to. And either one of those work for pretty much anything that you want to do for a welcome sign. All right, so now I'm going to take my logo text here, and my logo text is going to need to move a little bit because it's a little down too low. So I'll take my entire logo text and I'm going to pull it up here. And for this one, I'm going to show you, you don't always have to use the photo or the local image on here. And this does look like something that we spent a lot of time designing. And I want you to know too, there's a second placement that you can do for the photo. And when I say second placement, it's just a suggestion for a second placement, but you can put it wherever you want. I just decided to kind of put it over here in this area. Well, let's switch it up a little bit. We can put it right down here at the bottom. That way you're still featuring your main image there. All right, now again, sometimes this text can get a little hard to read, so I'm going to test it out and see if I like it better adding my white spotlight. And I do think it makes the text a lot more legible. So, of course, I don't get to see my gate there as much as I want. So what I can do is I can bring the opacity of this down, and that way I can still kind of see my gate there, but it's still much more legible. All right, and again, if I want to go ahead and save this one, I'm gonna scroll on up, go to my 291, right click, quick export as PNG, and then this one will be the welcome sign. And that's my second version. That's going to be, like I said, this one doesn't have that transparent background. It's got the full 100% opacity for the background. All right, and then finally, I'm going to flip this to the menu. So we'll go back to our text here. I'm going to turn off the welcome text and turn on the menu text. And for the menu, I don't need the logo at all. So I'm going to turn off the logo text. But I do feel like for the menu, since the font is so thin and the menu is going to be smaller, I do want to have more contrast there. So for this one, I'm going to look for my white spotlight and I'm going to crank it all the way up to 100%. And that's going to make this easier to read. Now, at this point, I could choose to move my little photo one, and maybe that's what I want to do, or I can turn it off altogether. But either way, menu is done now. So I'm gonna right click on the 291 again and then do quick export as PNG. And this one is my menu. And again, I'm just gonna put a 2 at the end. So I see that variation. And y'all, that is all. That is what we're gonna do today. This is going to be an opportunity for you to do some really dynamic things inside of Photoshop. And I'm excited that it's many of your very, very first time in Photoshop. If it is your first time in Photoshop, y'all go ahead and give me a 1 in the chat. Give me a 1 in the chat. And don't be embarrassed. I promise I got you. All right, Tanya, Courtney, Joyce. Okay. Any more newbies? Because this is the thing. What I'm going to do is I will allow my newbies to be the first to share their screen anytime I ask if anyone needs help and to share your screen. That means you're pretty much going to be getting one-on-one help. So when I start the Photoshop class at 8 o'clock, you will not be seeing my screen at all. I will be seeing your screen and I will be helping you on your screen. So I am going to ask you to have dual screens. If you don't have dual screens is basically where you plug in another screen or maybe even a TV monitor into your computer, and it acts as a uh, screen to your first option. If you maybe use an iPad, if you're using a Mac, sometimes those work as second screens. The last resort is you can use a second device. So that second device and your first device both must be on Zoom, and they have to be on Zoom, both of them, because one, you'll be watching us. Your secondary device, whether it is a tablet, an extra laptop, it might even be like your iPod, your iPad, or if you need it to be, it can be your phone, but I don't recommend watching the Zoom on a phone because it's really hard to see what we're doing, okay? And I want this to be as easy as possible for you. So if you need time to do that, then I would say if you do not have dual screens, do me a favor and just watch the replay, because it's almost going to be impossible for you to close down one screen, see what we were doing, go back to your screen and keep up with us, okay? So if you have dual screens or if you have another device, we're going to give you, you have about 10 minutes where you can go grab a second device or a second screen and go plug it in right now or log that second device into the Zoom. You're absolutely welcome to bring a second device into the Zoom room. Just when you tag it with the name, just say that this is Felicia's second device. Okay. All right. So I'm going to check over here for a moment, see what's going on. on the YouTube side because I haven't been able to see you all the whole time, and Zoom is just taking over completely my other screen. Just crazy. All right, let's see what y'all are talking about over here. If anyone is in the freeview version of the challenge and you want to come on over to the paid version of the challenge, you still have the ability to do so. You can watch the replay of day 1 and 2, and you can jump right in with us for day 3. You don't need anything other than Photoshop. So I have a link for $9.99. Hopefully you all use that if you didn't have Photoshop. And y'all give me an idea, how much are you all paying for Photoshop? If you just have Photoshop, because I'm curious to see some people said they were paying $20 or more for Photoshop. And if you're just using Photoshop, that's not required. Usually it's something that is built into the pricing that allows you to use their cloud storage, which is not even sufficient for most of our Photoshop files. So I want to share with you all a link where you can cancel your current Photoshop subscription and you can get Photoshop for $9.99 a month. Okay, see, Hardy, you got yours for $9.99. Perfect. Mara, you got it for $21.99. That's probably that version that has the cloud attached to it. You can definitely get the $9.99 version of Photoshop. That is all that you need to do everything that we've been doing in Photoshop. Okay. Nikisha, you're paying 22. Yep. So you probably have that cloud. It's called the photography plan. They trick people because there's a photography plan that's basically $22 and there's a photography plan that is $10. You want the photography plan that is $10 because you don't need that cloud. As a matter of fact, the cloud will most times slow your computer down whenever you're using that cloud and you're using Photoshop at the same time. Okay. Now, Janessa, if you use the link, and let me see if I have it. So Tanya, the link that you can use for the second device, if you just go, it's the same Zoom link that you have access to on your Academy. You're just gonna send that Zoom link to your second device and log on to Zoom on that second device. Okay. All right. Any other questions, y'all? Because I'm about to close out the preview session, y'all. I hope that you all had some fun and watching us design in Photoshop and also maybe learning some new tips and tricks about smart colors and about, like I like to call this a spotlight. This is my go-to type of tool whenever I'm creating bold graphics, but I also need to do a very text-heavy graphics, such as funeral programs and menus, things of that nature, where it's very text intensive. I use this trick almost every single time because most of the time I'm not designing on a flat white background because y'all know I'm extra. All righty, my love. So if that's it, I'm going to go ahead and close down the preview room. I will see you all tomorrow at 7 p.m. I'll have another session and some more information for you. But until then, you all make sure that you are here on Friday because I will have some free files for you on Friday that will allow you to market yourself. They won't be the editable files that we have inside the challenge. Y'all already know, but I will give you some PNG images that you can use to market yourself, market this type of design in this template in this project. And so if somebody decides that they want to order from you, and at that point in time, you want to order the template or you want to order the challenge, then we will have the replay and the templates available for you. Okay, loves? All right. Until tomorrow, y'all have a great night. Let's get ready to trying to preserve it. I hope you all are hearing me well. All right, and let's go ahead inside of the Photoshop room. I'm going to stop my screen share. I'm going to upload the Photoshop file on your back end. I'm going to show you all where to go in the Academy to download the file.